They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
What's up, everyone? My name is Ethan. This is Courtside TV. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it for today. So, I wanted to talk about the Houston Rockets and their potential to be one of the key sellers at the trade deadline this year, because we have this weird NBA market right now where because everything is so bunched up in the standings, there's a lot of teams that are trying to be good, as well as the addition of the play-in tournament, meaning that more teams can have hope to get into the playoffs. Instead of having to get to 8, you only have to get to 10 now to have a chance and to make a postseason series and get into the first round, whatever. So more teams in the league feel like they have a chance, and I think just in general there's more teams just around the league in general that are really going for it. There's only like 2 or 3 teams that are tanking. I've talked about that in the past, where there's only like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 teams who don't feel like they can make the playoffs this year, and other than that, pretty much everybody else is going to go for it. So that puts the Rockets in an interesting position here, because this is a team that I think can be pretty good if they're putting everything together and they're all healthy, and I think they do have a shot to make the playoffs in the Western Conference, but they, because of injuries they've had to deal with and just the state of the roster right now and the status of a bunch of their picks, they are a team that might consider trying to sell off some of these guys for parts at the deadline, and that could be very, very significant in terms of the title chase, because a lot of these guys on this Rockets roster can really go out and help contenders. So I had talked about the Rockets a couple of weeks ago, saying that they've been super fun to watch and they've really impressed me with their defense and putting everything together, and they were winning basketball games. Well, since then, they haven't been super great. They've lost 7 in a row. Part of that is due to a couple injuries they've had to deal with. Christian Wood's been out. PJ Tucker's missed a couple of games. They've had John Wall has been out at points this year. Even Boogie. They've all been sort of in and out of the lineup. So it is kind of understandable why they're losing, and I think also they're partially just not really trying to be that good, which is interesting because they don't have their pick this year. I believe it's a pick swap owed to OKC or something like that. I'm not sure exactly where the pick is going, but I believe that they have no incentive to tank their own record this year. So what they can decide to do is they're like, okay, well, we don't care about us being bad, but also they can choose to trade some of these guys. And while, yes, that would make them a worse team, they're getting assets back by trading some of these guys away. So that's one thing to consider, because even if they're not tanking for the sake of their own draft pick, they might just want to, trade away some of their veterans in order to, 1, free up playing time for the youngsters, and 2, recoup some of the value that they've lost in, a couple of the deals they've made over the past years, trying to bring in Chris Paul and then bring in Russell Westbrook and then round out the roster with all those other role players. They've traded away a lot of first-round picks under Daryl Morey. They've recouped a lot of that value in the James Harden deal, but they still could use to, get some more assets back to load up for their rebuild here. And that started today with the news that they're going to be parting ways with Boogie Cousins. Now, we're not sure exactly how this is going to go down. When I first read it, I was assuming it would be a trade somewhere, but maybe they'll end up just releasing him, depending on how it goes. They did guarantee his salary, which is a nice gesture from the organization to give him his money before cutting him. So he's going to get his full salary regardless, but they still might release him, and he will be free to sign anywhere else. But I would assume they're going to try to shop him around for the next week or a couple weeks maybe, to see if anybody bites on that and wants to get in ahead of him before he hits the open free agency market. So we'll have to see. The Lakers were rumored to be interested. I heard a rumor that the Heat were interested in him as well. So potentially he could be somebody that's packaged in with PJ Tucker. Like if a team's trading for PJ, we'll say, hey, we'll take Boogie too, give you back something a little extra in return, and that would be something that could potentially work. That was rumored for Miami there. So maybe there's a deal somewhere in the works for Boogie. If not, they're just going to cut him, and that's fine. They're just going to free up more playing time for Christian Wood once he does come back and he's healthy. So that's the first thing, right, is that we already know that this kind of signals to me that this is probably the direction they're going to go, is try to retain some value, as well as, freeing up a ton of playing time for a lot of their younger guys. Now, this roster doesn't have a marquee young talent. It is Christian Wood, but he is a guy who I think he's 25 or 26 this year, so it's not like he's, a super young player that needs a ton of developmental minutes. Obviously you want him playing as much as possible when he's healthy. but he's not necessarily a guy that you need to prioritize the development for because he's kind of already developed, if that makes sense. So maybe it's Jayshawn Tate, but even then he's an older rookie. I think he's 25 also, maybe 24. He had played a couple of years overseas, but he could use some getting used to the NBA game. They have a couple guys like Mason Jones, I think, is a younger player. He hasn't been around the league as much up until this year, as well as I believe it was KJ Martin was their draft pick in the second round, but they didn't have a first round pick, and they haven't really drafted high at all over the past long while because they've been good. So the Rockets are a team that doesn't have a lot of young talent that needs playing minutes, but they're going to want to get some of those guys as many chances as they can get, and they'll probably bring in some tryouts off the free agent market, maybe bring some guys up from their G League squad or some other G League squad and try to see if they can find any diamonds in the rough here, and find some players to bring up. So where does that leave us in terms of where their veterans are going to go? Well, if the Rockets turn into sellers, like I said, they have a lot of pieces on this roster that I think would be really intriguing for some contenders, and it's not just Boogie and it's not just PJ Tucker, because we know those two are probably going to be on different teams by the end of the year. But there's a ton of guys here that I think could potentially get moved if the Rockets decide to go that route. So if we look at their roster here, they have quite a few expiring contracts that I think would be really intriguing to some teams. First of all, you have Victor Oladipo now. We're not sure of the situation between him and the team. We know that he was considering leaving the Pacers in free agency. There was rumors that he didn't want to land with Houston. He would prefer to sign somewhere else. So who knows how those negotiations are going to go. I think the Rockets are going to be trying to get a pretty good idea of what Oladipo's plans are, whether he wants to re-sign, if he's interested in coming back. I think if he is interested in coming back, they'll probably try to re-sign him. I don't think on a max deal or anything like that, but maybe something similar to what he's making now, $20 million, maybe a little less given the injury history. But maybe they'll work on an extension with him. But if they think he's going to leave, then a trade would definitely, I think, benefit them. See if they can get something back. Potentially, I mean, we know that Oladipo's value was really low, and he was flipped for just Karis LeVert. I think there was like a second round pick in there, but not very many teams were offering like huge stuff for Victor Oladipo, like no huge first round picks or anything like that. But who knows? Maybe if he plays well over these next couple of weeks and stays healthy, then you could potentially get something for him. I think there would be some contenders out there, or maybe a fringe contender that would be interested in bringing him in. Eric Gordon's another one. Now that contract is pretty bad and pretty long, but again, he's still a really good player. His defense has been great this year, and he can shoot the heck out of it. We've seen him get really hot at points in the playoffs, so maybe there's a chance that he gets moved somewhere if you can get something back for him, or maybe just dump the money, because the Rockets in that James Harden trade, by not keeping Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen, two guys who LeVert's on a long-term contract and Allen is a guy who they would have to extend after this year, signals to me that they're trying to cut salary. So if they can cut Eric Gordon's money off the books, I think they'll probably try to do it. Christian Wood's here to stay. Dante Exum, again, his value is really low. I don't even think he's played for the Rockets at all. I don't even think he's played this year. Maybe he played a couple games for the Cavs, but he's a guy who doesn't really have any value at this point. PJ Tucker, we talked about him already. He'll probably get moved. Danuel House is on a very cheap deal, and he's a good player. So these guys that are down here, I specifically want to talk about House, Ben McLemore, David Nwaba, and Sterling Brown are all veterans who, if the Rockets are not really going to try to be good this year and they can get value back for these guys, I think they will. These are really cheap players that can slide right in, good role players. We've seen these guys on really good teams before. House and McLemore were both on last year's Rockets team, and I think both were on the year before as well. At least House was for sure. David Nwaba is new, but he's a guy who we know can play a role in a rotation. Same with Sterling Brown, who played for the Bucks for the last couple of years and was a rotation player for them when they were really good. So these are all guys who can slide right into some contending lineups and provide valuable minutes for you. So if they can trade these guys, even for like second round picks or future pick swaps or whatever it is, even if it's a little amount of value, I think the Rockets probably should go that way. Just because I think that these guys are going to be easy to move, and maybe they're like a throw into a PJ Tucker trade or a Boogie Cousins trade to make up a little bit more money, but I think all of those guys are expendable. Pretty much everybody. My main point here is pretty much everybody on this roster probably should be expendable, except for Christian Wood I would hold on to, Jayshawn Tate I would hold on to, Kenyon Martin I would hold on to, Kevin Porter Jr. they just traded for. He's a nice young piece if he can, figure out his off-the-court stuff. Hopefully he can come around on that. I would keep him, but pretty much everybody else I think is up for grabs here for as many picks as the Rockets are going to want. So I think that this could really, really swing the market here if they decide to, hey, we're going to, try to get as much value as we can back for this roster and just fill all these empty roster spots with 2A guys, or, guys from the G League or younger players who went undrafted, whatever that is. I think that could be the kick that the trade market needs around the deadline, because as of right now, there's not a lot of teams that are selling, and the Rockets could really be one of them, because, I just listed off, what is that, 8 or 9 guys that could be out there from this roster. Maybe they could just do a full blow-up. It would be kind of interesting to see it. But yeah, I think that's about all I have on the Rockets, the most flexible team in the NBA right now. We already know they're getting rid of Boogie, they're getting rid of PJ Tucker at some point. I think if they decide to blow this up, we could see a lot of veterans changing hands within the next month or so, which makes for great content. So I'm all here for it. Honestly, I think if the Rockets are going to trade all these guys, I think it'd be really fun to see them completely tear down this roster. We saw OKC do it over the offseason, and that was super fun to see what they could get back for all of those guys that they traded away. I think we could see Houston do a similar thing here, but it's a sort of a different situation because a lot of these guys aren't making very much money, so they're a lot easier to trade. So I don't know. It should be fun if they can, get any value back for some of these vets. But yeah, I think that's about all I have on the Houston Rockets. Like I said at the top of the video, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a like, ring that bell if you want to. Leave a comment letting me know what you think about the Rockets. Are they sellers? Where are these guys going to end up? What potential teams might be interested? Would love to hear your thoughts down below. But yeah, with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one.